Oh, it's just a slow night. Thought I'd post something. Something I was thinking about, an odd, kind of dark event in my past, of course, back in Whitehall years, when I slept under a railroad bridge one night. And here's a little short, I did a Google Earth kind of presentation of the area I'm talking about. Here's that. All right, here's Google Earth on where all this took place. You can see there's New York State. Zoom into Whitehall. Oh, Whitehall. Give you a little Google Earth tour. There's a Skeen Manor. I told a couple of stories about that place. Up on the hill. That's on a hill. All right, so Sasquatch calling Bigfoot. You've heard my Bigfoot stories about this town, Whitehall. Well, they call it Sasquatch, Bigfoot. These people don't want to believe that this is a demonic entity. There's a few of them that do believe it, but by far large, most of them want to think it's something cute. They even have Sasquatch crossing signs on the road, like it's just something cute for probably meant to drum up a little tourism. But they're celebrating a demonic entity. And I've told them this. I'll tell them again. All right, here's the park where I ended up going to sleep after I got spooked out of this place. That's the bridge, main bridge. That's for cars. So you walk up a little ways and you get to this. That's the railroad bridge that I slept under, namely on this side. And you can even see the little concrete slab underneath it. I had slept directly under that bridge. And then after I got spooked, I got up and I went back and slept in the grass here. Got up in the morning and went to work, which was, not there. Right there, the armory. That's where I worked. It's no longer an armory. But that's the bridge. For this odd little event. All right, so it happened that I had a house, but it was 17 miles away from Whitehall, and I worked in Whitehall, and I lived out there alone. And something happened to my car. I didn't have a ride. So I was kind of living outdoors that summer a little bit in the village until I could get my car and my apartment situated, or actually I had a house. But I needed to get my car situation remedied and, get another apartment or house in Whitehall where I worked. And I had a good job, so it wasn't like I was broke and or anything derelict. Oh, just living outdoors. Well, I slept out up in the woods just outside of town one night, and I had a raccoon trying to climb into my sleeping bag over and over. Just I couldn't get to sleep. This silly raccoon was trying to get into the sleeping bag with me, believe it or not. Until I hit it with army boot, it ran off. Now that was weird. That was an event in itself. I felt this. I was laying on my back on top of my sleeping bag for the most part, it was zipped open. It was summertime, just kind of like the lower part of my legs were in the sleeping bag. And I felt something on my chest. I was sleeping. I felt something cold and wet brushing up against my nose and something on my chest. And I opened my eyes, and it was starry out, probably August, July, midsummer. And it took me a few minutes to focus, and I see a silhouette of a raccoon, and he was on my chest, and he was going like this, oddly, back and forth with his nose, his like wet, cold little nose was brushing against mine. And it took me a moment. I went, it really kind of blew my mind. I just, I threw that thing off of me, and got up instantly, and it went tumbling in the dirt. And I was totally living out in the woods by myself. But the village was only about a 5-minute walk. I was just on the outskirts of Whitehall, up in the woods a little ways, by myself. And I thought, that's weird. It was really weird. And the thing kept circling around. They do that. They'll circle around you, and they'll wait till you start to fall asleep again. Then they'll move in closer. And it was trying to climb into the sleeping bag with me where it was opened. And, I kept shooing it away, and it wasn't a very big raccoon, as raccoons go, fortunately, but they can tear you up. They can be pretty fierce, and you don't know, might have had rabies, so as cute as they look sometimes, beware. And I kept, shooing the thing off, and finally I threw an army boot and hit it, and it ran off. But I said, that's it, I can't sleep out here. So I went to the village the next night, and I think it must have been a weekend. No, it wasn't a weekend. This is a while back when I was about 30. I tried to sleep in the park, but there's just too many people loitering around in that little park. And Whitehall's not a very big town. I don't know if it's even as big as the town I'm in. It's an old town. It's got a lot of history to it. All the way back to 1750s, colonial history. But there's just too many, I wouldn't call them vagrants. They didn't have any homeless people, that I could think of. I don't know what these guys, just hanging out. They'd hang out in the park by the canal. They weren't doing anything wrong. But I didn't like that. So I went up to this railroad bridge that I had walked across that a few times. And I knew there was like a concrete slab where the concrete pillars that hold the whole structure up. And then there was like a concrete slab. And the canal there was no current to speak of. It very like pond water, like calm, for the most part. And the slab was about maybe that high off the surface of the water, so in a nice little spot. And people didn't go there. I don't know if they do now, but really didn't get any visitors. It was pretty alone out there. It wasn't really, people didn't hang out there or anything like that. I don't even know if people fish there. But I slept there on that slab one night, and I thought, this is excellent, because it was right by the water, and you could just really hear the gentle lapping of the water up against, where the concrete was. I could have put my arm down into the water, that wasn't that far up. But it was pretty good, and I had all I was using was a blanket, and I had an army laundry bag that I put some clothes in. I used that for a pillow and just covered up. And I was laying there, and I just, by this time I was really used to living out in the woods by myself. Really didn't bother me to sleep out in the woods. I had faith in God. I didn't worry about things. I was a brave guy. I'd be challenged to do that now. I haven't done that sort of thing in a few years. I was thinking I'd like to do that again, just go out and rough it on my own. But I was getting the heebie-jeebies like crazy there, and I couldn't understand why. Because it was a nice spot, you know. Me under my railroad bridge. I fell asleep for a little bit, and a train came right overhead, over that old, steel bridge. That was loud, but I thought it was kind of cool, and it passed. And so I'm laying there, everything's quiet again, probably about 2 in the morning or something like that at this point. And I'm just getting creeped out like crazy, creeped out. And I'm like, I never let myself get creeped out. I made it a point not to ever run, to leave, to let just a battle of nerves or creeped outedness make me go away from a good place. But there was something about that place, that spot underneath that bridge where I was laying, that perfect little place to lay out by yourself and sleep, if you're that inclined to do that. I just couldn't shake it. There was something really creeping me out there bad. And I couldn't sleep because I just couldn't relax, I don't know what I was afraid of. So I finally gave up and I said, I got to get out of here. This place is creeping me out. I couldn't figure out why. So I walked back down to the park, by the canal that I showed you on the video where I said people loiter around there a lot. And I went to sleep on the grass there with my little army blanket. It was an army poncho liner to be exact. And I slept pretty well on the grass there. And I woke up. These 3 guys, adult guys, white guys, almost everybody in that town was then, standing by me smoking cigarettes. I mean, they were standing by me. I don't know what they were doing. I mean, they weren't threatening me. They weren't saying anything threatening. But they're all standing around me just smoking. I mean, like they were probably like maybe 3 feet away from me. These 3 guys. I'm wondering, kind of covered up. I'm like, what are these guys doing? The sun it was early morning. The sun had just come up, and this was midsummer. So I said, oh, what the heck with it. I got up, and I didn't say a word to them. They didn't say a word to me, and I back then I smoked. And, I bummed the light off on them and had a cigarette with them. Put my army poncho in my laundry bag that I was using for a pillow as well. Didn't say a word to them, just left. The whole thing was just kind of weird. Well, I went into work, which was only about a 10-minute walk from there, if that. And mid-morning that day, my friend that I worked with, Sergeant LaChapelle, I was a sergeant myself there, Rodney, or Rod as I called him, he was my buddy. He told me, did you hear they found this guy, they called him the town drunk, that's what Rodney said, that he was floating in the water under that bridge where I was sleeping. He told me that later that day, at the very most a day later, but I think it was the same day, they said they found that guy's body floating in the water right under that bridge where I was sleeping. They said it appeared that he fell off the bridge and hit his head on the concrete where I was sleeping. And it must have happened before I went there. And I went there. It was already dark when I got there, as I recall. I didn't go there during the daytime and hang out. I went there at night and went, crashed out. It must have happened before I got there. They said he was probably drunk and he fell off that bridge and hit his head on the concrete and drowned probably, and whatever. But yeah, you wonder why I was getting the heebie-jeebies. There's a dead guy, newly dead guy, floating in the water. Who knows, right by me, apparently. And so I kind of must have picked up on that vibe because I thought it was kind of unusual that the heebie-jeebies I got, the jitters, whatever, was kind of unusual. So I was wondering what that was all about. I didn't tell anybody about it because I figured that, well, if I was on that bridge the same night that guy fell off, Somebody may try to imply me in some way in it. I didn't say anything to anybody, but I didn't have anything to do with it. Honest. But that's it. It's just kind of an odd event in my life. I look back on, back when I was younger, and I was pretty brave, really, pretty brave guy. I didn't back down from much of anything, um, unless common sense told me it's prudent to back down, but I wasn't recklessly, I was borderline recklessly brave. But I wouldn't say, I've known people that were recklessly brave, and I've known some people that were recklessly brave that didn't live as a result of it, doing stupid things. Well, that's it. I just had a long, long work day today, and it's been a week. A week ago today, my younger brother, passed, and I'd like to thank those of you who offered your insight and your condolences. Thank you very much for that. That's it. I've got some Christian stuff I want to cover, just spiritual stuff, but I've just been so numb lately from everything that's happened recently. I've just been kind of numb mentally. Not feeling too inspired or creative. So, take care. God bless each of you.